Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353, alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka, kwenye Quickwin ni bidhaa bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini.
The greatest rally in the world is back in Kenya. Catch all the action of WRC Safari Rally live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 from 24th to 27th June. See the world's best drivers navigate their machines on Kenya's rough terrain at breakneck speeds. Experience the thrills, adrenaline, drama and excitement as man and machine do battle. Don't miss out. WRC Safari Rally, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
And if you don't find out where she is within the week, I'll send you to jail.
Oh, no.
Until I drive Lucretia crazy with the ghost of my mother, I'd like to turn every evil deed she's done back onto her.
Before you wear a medal, make sure you haven't dealt with someone who stole from us and wants to ruin us.
Dad, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about your deal with Ulises Arteaga.
Just make sure that Ulises Arteaga goes bankrupt, so he'd sell his ranch to me at a ridiculous price.
You stole our coffee at El Paraíso, and you made Cipriano your accomplice. And we know you're also responsible for the flood in the warehouse.
Only you and I know about that secret, son. That and about your true origin, Tessa.
Every Monday evening, we take you back where the action happened.
We cheer up your Monday blues.
Our cameras rove all week to cover the latest in the enormous showbiz scene.
We show you what you missed even if you were present.
Grapevine gives 100% support to the local entertainment content.
From celebrity buzz,
music,
fashion,
and all manner of entertainment and youth talent.
Watch Grapevine every Monday at 10 p.m.
Remember what they say, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably
never happened.
He looks cool, calm and collected as he inspects the works are being done on his car in readiness for his debut in the WRC Safari Rally, a demeanor that personifies what is required of a competitor in these adrenaline motorsports.
It's taken a lot of training for us to even come close to that. And we started by fragmenting the team so that different people deal with different things, so that the guys who are driving are dealing with being in the car and we don't care about anything else. So they won't ask us what to repair and replace in the car, all in an effort to keep our heads lighter. You want to be focused. You want to shut out all other problems in the world, because once you're done with the rally, you'll still find them. So that takes time to learn. It's not something I can tell you. There's a process to doing, but there's a lot of calmness and meditation that you need to do days before the rally to just learn how to control your body. Think about it this way. You have adrenaline that's pumping in your body, that's pushing you to do crazy things. And at the same time, you have your mind that needs to control how your body behaves and how you process all this stuff. So you need to calm yourself down while still adrenaline is in the background, riling things up. So it's not easy. It's something that I've had to learn over time. But now I almost can switch it on and off, depending on what situation we need.
Evans Akavese is one of the fastest rising indigenous Kenyans who have come a long way in rally to make their presence felt. He was inspired by both local and international top drivers to take up the sport.
But I remember Ian's win in 1994, I believe, with the Celica. That Celica is probably what now made me cement it. Yeah, I'm doing this thing. Yeah, they did a remote service, and it so happened that that remote service was near where I was. The car was stopped just almost where I was. So you can imagine a car is just in front of you here, and as a young boy, guys are rushing around with fanners, fungua, jack this, do this, driver anajimwagilia maji. Like, this is it. There's nothing else to be doing other than this. So since then, we've been trying to recreate that, even as we want that. So if years later I can be doing a small part of that, dream come true. Dream come true, to be honest.
And thanks to the able hands of Mzee Wakazi, he quickly learned the ropes of the game.
I had the ambition since I was young, and it's possibly the only ambition that actually stuck. So everything else seemed to be a means to an end for me to make sure that I rally. So eventually I had to enter motorsport. I started by doing volunteering in different workshops with various lead drivers. My longest stint being at Azano is actually the one who even connected me to Absalom, my navigator. He's the one who connected me to my team manager. You know, these are guys we trained with back in the day. So our friendship just grew out of all of that, and it was easy to just transition into a team.
He remembers his first experience as if it was yesterday and how scary it was.
My first experience driving a rally car was actually in an event, that is. I was 2018 Safari Rally. One of the best events, if you ask me, because just starting was a complication on its own. We had so many problems in that rally. We didn't finish. And we had, honestly, all sorts of problems. In fact, I guess that's where I actually started learning about all these things that I'd been taught by Aza and the rest on elements of preparation of the car, elements of preparation of the team, mentally accepting what you're going to do and preparing yourself for it. So that event actually was because we had actually talked about it for a while with Absalom. He had, the weekend before, they had an accident in, I think, a Tanga rally or Arusha rally. It actually ended up with I think 2 spectators passing away. So he was also extremely scared. So for me, it worked very well that we were actually scared. So we were very, very, very scared. So the first stage, we didn't do anything major. The second stage, nothing also. But by the time, adrenaline is now checking in to tell you it's not that bad. It was the third stage, and that's actually the stage we went out. So one of the best experiences I can put together. That I will never forget that first rally.
Evans overcame his fears to enter into competition proper and hone his motorsports skills.
We had to figure out how to sort out the car, because then that became our next problem. How do we make it reliable enough to finish events? So that was I think it took us the next 2 rallies to actually complete an event. And the first one I finished was KMC Rally, somewhere in Lisa Farm. I was dead last. I'd hit an antelope, I think, as in all sorts of problems I had. By the time I got to the finish line, the car had cooked the engine completely. That's how much overheating we had done. It could only manage to do that small round to take us to receive the trophy. After that, engine dead. But that was my first event to finish. So from then we started putting in systems to actually make sure that the rally car is prepared early enough, and so on and so forth.
He discovered along the way he had to switch to more reliable models for better performance.
So from there we changed the car, because then we realized whatever we were doing to that old one, we were throwing money at it and it was not solving any issue. So we actually now changed the car at that point, which is where we built now the GF8. But we wanted a similar platform to what we originally had, so that we're not changing parts and things are not too crazy for us to figure out. And the car itself became reliable, so we started finishing well. Then we needed a lot more power. That's when we now got the N10. The N10 again was a properly built rally car, compared to the one that we had done for ourselves. The GC8 lacked in a lot of things. Your engine mapping, the things that give you extra advantage. So buying a car that had already been done to all that made a lot more sense for us.
And it paid off, although it forced him to start from the scratch.
It's never missed a beat, to be honest. It's been one of my best experiences. The best results we've gotten so far is with this car, with the N10, so it has like a spot in my heart. It's the same one we did Arusha with, who were 5th overall. Incidentally, in the first year that we had it, which was actually last year, the lowest we ever got was 7th overall. And in the championship, I think we finished 4th, but then it was cancelled towards the end. Yeah, but it's been a brilliant ride, the N10. But now this year, because of the safari and the upgrades we wanted to do to the car, it was easier and almost cheaper for us to do it on a different platform. So that's why we actually shifted from the Subaru to now the Evo 10.
COVID-19 struck, and with it came some new challenges, but it didn't throw them off the course despite some ups and downs.
We had, when we just got the car, the N10, because that was just in January 2020, we did a lot of testing. We did a lot of testing in different farms. And the original tests we used to do were short events and things of that nature, but soon enough we came to realize that the car is very different from what we were used to. So we needed to put in a lot more mileage in training. So we changed the training mechanisms, and whatever we used to call now training had to essentially be redefined. We joined hand with a few teams who are already doing that kind of thing, so it was easier for us to just piggyback on whatever they were doing and get us also to achieve something good enough, which is now this Menengai Lemon team, Eric Bengi's team. So we've been associating for quite a while and developed us quite a bit, especially with this car. So by the time it came to the first event we did with it was 7th overall. That was a Guru Nanak. Then the next event we did with it was a Nyaururu. That was an Nakuru rally, 7th again. And that is where now COVID struck. And at that point, we're actually looking at being consistent for the whole year and try and get as much as possible from this car, because we were waiting for Safari 2020. It was supposed to be the big event, was supposed to actually be in 2020. Well, when everything was stopped, it also took us back. We actually didn't know what to do, because now you have time and that's all you have. So you can only reminisce. So we actually started making our trainings bigger and longer in that time. So we trained more. We rebuilt the car from scratch, just to give it that personal touch, so that you're also comfortable, that you know everything that's happening in that car and you're confident with it in an event. So you can imagine that many months between the last event we did, I think was in end of March, beginning of March or something. The next event we did with it, proper competition, was in November. So when TZ guys announced that there'll be a rally and they're welcoming foreigners, we jumped on that wagon like we were on steroids. It's not even funny. It was not even a team discussion. It was just an SMS. I'm guessing next week we are on. Yes. So all of us went to TZ. It was a very nice event because we had been training so much with the car. So we also wanted to see how we are as a team in proper competition setup. And our prayers were answered. We were 5th on that event. We would have done better, but no complaints. 5th was brilliant.
When the Equator Rally was reinstated in the IRC to act as a curtain raiser for the WRC Safari Rally, Evans could not bypass the opportunity to test his new car, and it was quite an experience, a story on its own to say the least.
A long event brings in some extra challenges. Think about fuel, your tire selection, how your crew is handled, because you also don't want them fatigued before the event ends. So if you put all those things together, it's actually it's a very technical rally. So the normal approach would be a cautious approach, which is what we tried having, but our mojo was destroyed day one on practice. Because again, with the new car, which we had just bought and done quite a bit of testing on it. We had never really opened the car or anything, but because it had sat for a while, it had not competed for I think 2 years, a year or 2 years or something like that. So some of the problems came up on the day of the rally, the first day of the rally. And in all these times when we were doing testing, everything was fine. All the problems that came up we sorted, and those we were confident that was the only problem. So with the gearbox was the first thing for us to actually have a problem with. No, actually the clutch before we left. And before that we had rolled the car on one of the sections when we were doing training. Because we used to have 100-kilometer training sessions broken down to stages. So in one of the areas where the attitude I had was still of the Subaru, not of the new car, and I needed to change a few settings myself, and all that stuff had escaped us. So we actually went wide on a corner and rolled the car, and that was a week to ARC, 1 week. So we rebuilt the car, but as a result, I think while loading it, when it had rolled, when they were offloading it or loading it onto the trailer, they had burnt the clutch, because the clutches on these things are quite sensitive. So we didn't know that until a day to the rally. A day to the rally, when we were leaving the workshop, I drove the car and felt, the clutch, nothing. So they fixed, we put in a new clutch, then they sent it for scrutineering, and everything was okay at that point. The day we start qualifying, the proper rally stage, from just the get-go, we could tell we have other problems now. We were not sure of the extent, but we just drove. We didn't even push it, that qualifying stage, which is what was determining the starting times for the following day. We didn't push it because we were not confident with it. The fuel pumps had failed. Yeah, well, one fuel pump had failed, and when we were connecting to the other one, the cable, whatever you attached to the fuel pump, on the second fuel pump, broke. So now we don't have proper fuel supply. The gearbox is trying to mess with us, and at that point I was not sure it was the gearbox. But by the time we drove from that qualifying stage all the way back to service, it actually packed up. A bolt went through the gearbox, sheared it, so we had all the oil leaking, and the gearbox jammed. The thing couldn't move. We decided now to try and see if we can repair. But by the time we removed it, we were very sure there's no repairs in sight, because it's a housing that was properly destroyed, not even the gearbox itself, not the mechanism. So we were either to continue with the rally or look for a new gearbox. No one within that vicinity had one that we could get, so we had to send people to Nairobi to look for one, which we got, and got it back there I think by 10:30. I came back to Nakuru. Now, because the rally had not properly started, they allowed us to repair the car and re-scrutineer the following day in the morning. So my big shot team here did all they could and made sure that car worked. So by 6, we were on the start line with everyone else. We had changed the gearbox from a competition one to a standard one, just to make sure we finish the rally, which, mind you, till now, it's not started. So after that, when we got into a rhythm, because of the matope and all that, and because the car had rolled, we had one of the pipes that connects to, you throw your water on your windscreen, like this much section of a pipe was missing. Someone didn't replace it, but then we didn't notice it, because when the car is being cleaned and all these things, you would normally be wiping it. We don't use the wipers. So when you're in the field, when you need the wipers, unafinya maji haikuji, and you have matope on the windscreen kabisa, and you're supposed to be competing, so you can't even afford to slow down and look at what the problem is, because you don't even know if you can sort it in the first place. So you had, because you have drinking water in the car, at some point when you find a nice patch, kazi yangu ni kumwaga maji kwa windscreen, then now, you know, we can see something. Hopefully you don't get any more mud, which you do, because it was raining. So at first there was a lot of drama for us. And again, it's because we had not, as a team, we had not, say, built the car. So we are not comfortable yet with it. By the second loop, we had sorted all those first issues of the day. Second loop, a new problem crept up. I think because the car had sat for a while, it was not driven for competition for over a year. One of the coils had just started degenerating, one of the ignition coils. So in the second loop, it died. So we had now almost no power. It sounds so bad at the back. We couldn't almost hear ourselves, and we are wearing helmets with intercoms. So at some point, my navigator had to be extremely illustrative, you know, because from where I'm seated, I cannot turn and look at him. I actually can't. There are restrictions on all those things we wear. So I can only see this much. So he has to throw his hand somewhere near the screen, you know, in front of me. Tell me it's right 4. Point at which side that corner should be coming, so that I also don't slow down. Because again, if you slow down, the car would pick up speed. So out of the nightmare of a section, at that point, honestly, we contemplated just getting to service and calling it quits, because now we are not competing. If you look at our times on the first stage, we were 11th. We posted 11th, the 11th fastest time, with I think 39 entries. Yeah. On the second stage, we were 7th. If you look in the afternoon, it's the opposite. We're almost 20, 22. So really, what are you doing? When we got back to service, because so many people got out, by the end of the day, we were actually 8th, because the total number of people remaining in the event were 13. So I'm like, okay, that's not bad. Why not do this again tomorrow? It's not a good addiction, I'll tell you that. So we repaired all we could. Next day in the morning, second day, the power issues that we had actually started creeping up more. Not that now the ignition coils, everything had been sorted, but we had a loss of power because I suspected the ACD pump. There's something that controls how the vehicle would handle. That thing had seized, it was not working anymore. So even when you have muddy tracks, you don't have full grip, because that is not providing you, sending power to where it's supposed to be going. So we just did a ride through the first 2 stages, because at that point we're looking at just finishing the event. Just put that experience in the bag, then let's talk about this another day. By the second loop, it was a bit dry, and we're willing now to commit a bit more, because it's proper gravel. We don't need that much ACD. We can actually throw the car around and make it work. It was okay, but well, in this one stage, Kedong, towards I think the last 6 to 8 kilometers, I've gone in to step on the brakes, and the brake pedal goes all the way to the other side. No change. So a navigator starts screaming at me, because he realizes what we are doing and the corner that's coming up. And at that point, I don't know how to tell this guy without upsetting him that this thing has no brakes. So I just drove, and then he starts wondering, what are we doing? Why are we trying to brake the car? Let's just finish the event. So by the end of that stage, I start trying to demonstrate to him how the car cannot stop, because you have to drive competitively generally. If the corner grading is not too bad, it allows you to maintain a relatively fast speed. And that is what I was banking on, knowing how Kedong was. So I didn't let off per se. But towards the end, where you actually need to stop, it didn't stop. just went all the way past the time control, and we incurred even penalties because of that. But it was a fun experience at that point. We drove it back to service, where they sorted out. It was a small pipe that the rear left, a small pipe that had cut, and now all the oil had leaked through that, so you have zero brakes. So that was repaired. In the second loop, because now it's a lot drier, we know we have brakes, we can commit. That stage we actually found there's a guy who took a jump that was, I don't know what the grading was, but it was a little off. So the car landed in such a bad way that the front left tire, that plus the suspension, went out of the car. So it blocked the entire road, and it was a small road. So when you got there, we really couldn't do anything. So there's something in rally we call red flags. So a red flag was issued to us, which means all the guys who are affected by that and backwards, you cannot compete. You're given, let's call it a dummy time. But now, because that stage had been done in the morning, they took 30 seconds off that time of the stage in the morning. Remember, in the morning it was muddy, so we did zero work. Our ACD pump was not working, so we were actually almost bottom on that stage. Then you only took 30 seconds. Well, when it's dry, we could have easily done half the time we did in the morning. So at that point, again, we started contemplating, this rally really doesn't want us to finish. So, so why not just go home? So, but luckily, we only had one stage remaining, and it took, that one last stage took all the strength we had, to be honest, to actually do it. We were ready to go. We did it and just finished. In fact, we didn't even post any decent times. We didn't even bother looking at the times. Whatever they were going to tell us, even if they said we were dead last, we'd be okay with that. You know, just say we finished. There's a trophy to all this madness, and we go home. So when you got to the finish, then you actually realized, 13th is not too bad. In the GCA, it used to be worse. So you're giving yourself some consolations. But all in all, a crazy, crazy experience. What we learned from it all, though, it's one, we need to own the car, prepare it ourselves, sort out the problems that we know, first of all. But in doing that, take down everything else, build it afresh, so that we are in control of what we are saying. This we've done, or this we've not done, and we know it can hold for the next event or two, that kind of thing.
Is now put behind his tribulations to focus on the big picture, where he'll rely on the experience of his navigator Absalom Oswani to make sure they come out unscathed.
At least I knew him from a long time back. I wanted someone more experienced than myself, because then it would be easier for me only to be learning, not the both of us. Luckily enough for him, he's done all sorts of things, some quite unnecessary, but we won't get to that today. He's still my friend, we have to understand each other. He has to understand how I behave, I have to understand how he behaves, to know when he's off his meds, if I can put it like that, or when he's actually off pace with me. He has to figure out how to push me in sections where I'm taking it a bit too cautious without telling me, go. You have to figure out what makes this guy tick. And that takes time. And that's why you will see most setups remain the same. Driver, navigator don't change as much, because there's that chemistry that it has to work, it has to gel. It's been a crazy ride with him, I'll be honest with you. But he's a good lad. I think his background, he comes more from a teaching background than anything else. So it's easier for him to show the rest the ropes. And having been experienced on so many other teams, even for our greater team, it is very easy for him to just tell people, instead of doing this, I've seen this being done in a different way. It makes the process of learning and improvement a lot easier and a lot faster. Yeah, but it doesn't come without its challenges. It doesn't. Because of adrenaline, and we are two of us in that car, he makes a small mistake, or I make a small mistake, and could have a nice fight. It's only that we are timed. That's the only reason probably I think we don't fight. And then by the time you get to the end of the stage, you're so happy to have finished the stage, you don't remember what this guy did to you. So but it's working. Let me put it like that. It's working. He started with us when we had zero experience as a team, because all of us who were together were green in rally, if you can put it like that. We had various experiences under different teams, but when you bring people together, they have to work for a bit before they become a cohesive unit.
Apart from Aswani, has quite a young and formidable Green Lifer team working behind the scenes to ensure they make the dreams come true in the Safari Rally.
Our team is a young one, relatively, in the sport, but we are trying to move mountains. We expect the best from ourselves, and people should too. We push ourselves to do the best that is possible in terms of achievement in the sport. Otherwise, it would be pointless to be, putting this much effort without improving. We are doing a lot of analysis internally to actually make sure that everything we are building is an improvement. We are not repeating yesterday's mistakes. The team itself, it comprises of a whole section of media guys and a whole section of service crew. Service crew is led by James Onyango, and he has his own team of 6 people to guide through the mechanisms of what they need to do. The media team has its own leader, again Bill Widad. He does his own setups. So we expect quite a bit of scrutiny internally and externally. We'd like to get as much viewership as is possible. I'll be frank about that. And historically, only the top teams have been receiving that kind of, eyes on their back, if you can put it like that. These types of events are made possible by corporates who are coming together and putting money on a team or two, to make sure that they actually put their name out there. So it is very important that we, one, perform, two, that we be seen to perform. Because without that element of people seeing us, then we lose our credibility to the people who have put us in these positions. Because everything is expected to come back with a positive. The same way we expect to go out coming from a losing situation, we expect to do the best, possibly win, right? It's the same way they expect us to do great things with the little they've given us in terms of resource. Mentally, you're ready, but you always have small doubts. In terms of preparation, because we had made a decision to rebuild the car, that I am already comfortable with, because I know my team's capability. They will take care of that side. So for me and the navigator, our job is to keep focus, because this is a very tricky event. It's not, it is a sprint, yes, but it is a very technical sprint. Zabu was calling it a navigator's event. That if I actually miss anything he says, that could be the end of the rally. Something major will happen. So that's how to look at it. It's very technical, and at the same time you need to be extremely fast. So you need to think about nothing else around that time. So we are preparing ourselves through your regimes of physical exercise, of mental, of meditation, that to just allow you to control your body a lot more. Secondly, the team is preparing on the car side by building everything afresh, making sure everything is in spick and span condition. Anything that could break down, you'd rather have it replaced now and than during the event. Your clutches, small things like your steering, rack ends and stuff like that. You'd be amazed what happens to these cars when they see a little bit of a stone. Rally tire selections, the rims that you're going to put on, the smallest and silliest of things have the biggest impact in a rally. So the team manager is in charge of that whole section of rebuilding the car, and I'm sure every other team is going through the similar regime of take down everything, put brand new things inside, or whatever is working, make sure it actually works really well so that you don't get silly failures. The remaining bit is now family. because we also have to put our families' issues in order, because you can't be in an event na pigiwe simu ya umekatiwa maji.
Evans Kabese, who currently leads the Division 2, navigated by Absalom Eswani, make quite a team in his Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 10, and they are determined to stand out and be counted among the finishers when it's all done and dusted.
You grow up wanting something so bad that you don't know what to do when it actually comes. That's where we are. So most of these guys have seen it. You've experienced it through the world of, WRC Plus, and their media outlets. You've seen it all, and you think you know how it works. But being in it is a different ballgame altogether. I can't explain, unfortunately. It's one of the best things. It's the only thing I've been looking forward to this year, that intently. So you can imagine the amount of time we are putting into the preparation with that kind of attitude. It's bigger than, in my opinion, it's bigger than you can imagine what it means to us. Having, wanted it for so long, from when you were 4 years or something like that, to now that you actually could be a part of it, and now you are actually a part of it. It's
Tonight.
You can send someone to go with me. Once I open the door and he sees the kid and how he calls me, you understand. I didn't come here to cause any trouble.
I'm sorry, sir.
Is that you outside the hotel?
Yeah. I was trying to come upstairs to see you, but the hotel wouldn't let me.
Let's go.
Shatian's not with you.
No?
I don't care what you have to do. Do not allow Yuguo to enter Shatian's school.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
And if you don't find out where she is within the week, I'll send you to jail.
Oh, no. Until I drive Lucretia crazy with the ghost of my mother, I'd like to turn every evil deed she's done back onto her.
Before you wear a medal, make sure you haven't dealt with someone who stole from us and wants to ruin us.
Dad, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about your deal with Ulises Arteaga.
Just make sure that Ulises Arteaga goes bankrupt, so he'd sell his ranch to me at a ridiculous price.
You stole our coffee at El Paraíso, and you made Cipriano your accomplice, and we know you're also responsible for the flood in the warehouse.
Only you and I know about that secret, son. That and about your true origin, Tessa.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Barabara wapenzi wasikilizaji, I go by the name at simply about the piece of Rumbukin grapevines, unajua tena. Oh yeah.
Over the weekend, this guy posted something that has, got everyone shocked. Huyu jamaa yani alipost ati I'm gonna die tonight. And I will miss everyone.
Let me talk about how him and Bianna always, it's like they're always fighting about something. So Bian wrote something on his Instagram about Calligraph Jones. Alafu sasa Calligraph vile alimjibu, hey bro, yani hata ajui jokes. Huyo ajui jokes. So alijibu Bian akamwambia, yo, mimi saizi nabishana na kina Lil Wayne.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Nakuulizaje? Una mpango wa kando?
Mpango wa nini?
Ati mpango wa nini? Ati hama, kuja, ukae huku. Kazini, kwatakana, tayarishi. Tangu lini?
Kuna yule rafiki yako ule kijana mfupi mweusi.
Huyu ni alifu wangu huyu boy.
Si umesema ongezewa vijana?
Nilikuwa kama boys
Basi yule amenifuata sema taka kazi.
Huyo? Lakini acha nikwambie mzee. Huyo boy. Utaitana. Huyo ni muizi.
Nakwambia, usijaribu imwagia soda tena. Ukimwagia soda tena tutachafuana. Ukimwona fanana na hiyo nguo. Kilemba cha hiyo.
Sasa ninaona nguo tunaileta hapa.
Kama umeomba umeomba.
Huo ni ungwana?
Tonight,
You can send someone to go with me. Once I open the door and he sees the kid and how he calls me, you understand. I didn't come here to cause any trouble.
I'm sorry, sir.
Is that you outside the hotel?
Yeah. I was trying to come upstairs to see you, but the hotel wouldn't let me.
Yo.
Let's go. Shatian's not with you.
No?
I don't care what you have to do. Do not allow you go to enter Shatian's school.
tonight on KBC Channel 1.
And if you don't find out where she is within the week, I'll send you to jail.
Oh, no.
Until I drive Lucretia crazy with a ghost of my mother, I'd like to turn every evil deed she's done back onto her.
Before you wear a medal, make sure you haven't dealt with someone who stole from us and wants to ruin us.
Dad, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about your deal with Ulises Arteaga.
Just make sure that Ulises Arteaga goes bankrupt, so he'd sell his ranch to me at a ridiculous price.
You stole our coffee at El Paraíso, and you made Cipriano your accomplice, and we know you're also responsible for the flood in the warehouse.
Only you and I know about that secret, son. That and about your true origin, Tessa.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Oh yeah. Barabara wapenzi wasikilizaji, I go by the name at Simply About the Prince of Rumbakin. Grapevines, unajua tena. Oh yeah.
Over the weekend, this guy posted something that has, got everyone shocked. Huyu jamaa yani alipost ati I'm gonna die tonight. And I will miss everyone.
Let me talk about how him and Bien are always, it's like they're always fighting about something. So Bien wrote something on his Instagram about Calligraph Jones. Alafu sasa Calligraph vile alimjibu, hey bro, yani hata ajui jokes. Huyo ajui jokes. So alijibu, Bien akamwambia, yo, mimi saizi nabishana na kina Lil Wayne.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Nakuulizaje? Una mpango wa kando?
Mpango wa nini?
Ati mpango wa nini? Ati hama kuja ukae huku. Kazini kwatakana tayarishi tangu lini?
Kuna yule rafiki yako ule kijana mfupi mweusi.
Huyu ni arifu wangu huyu boy.
Si umesema ongezewa vijana?
Nilikuwa kama boys
Basi yule amenifanya sema taka kazi.
Huyo? Lakini acha nikwambie mzee. Huyo boy. Utaitana. Huyo ni muizi.
Nakwambia, usijaribu imwagia soda tena. Ukimwagia soda tena tutachafuana. Ukimwona fanana na hiyo nguo. Kilemba cha hiyo.
Sasa ninaona nguo tunaileta hapa.
Kama umeomba.
Huo ni ungwana?
It is anxious moments as the eagerly awaited World Rally Championship at the Safari Rally Kenya comes home from the 24th to 27th of June, and it will start in Nairobi and head all the way to Naivasha. And today I'm joined by a veteran. He's been there, done that in the motorsports scenario.